Hi and welcome to today's webinar. This is Log's first webinar in a series which we are launching this year with the topic, The Science of Barrier Packaging. In this webinar series, we really want to tackle the biggest packaging challenges for moisture and also oxygen-sensitive formulations. Thank you for taking time out today and being here with us. I'm Tobias Eger, VP Marketing and Product, and already for the last 5 years with Log. I'll be leading you through this webinar today, and we have some 60 exciting minutes in front of us. As shown in the agenda, we will have sessions on the market trends and barrier and active packaging. See actual real-world examples how 2 of our customers were able to tackle stability challenges of their moisture and oxygen-sensitive formulations. We will learn more about Log's barrier and active packaging offering and also receive an update from the table of Log's barrier technology and R&D department. We will see what exciting new products and technologies they are working on. We will take also time to have a more interactive part together with you with a poll and Q&A session. So we have enabled this button, Ask a Question, below here. And please feel free to always send your questions over to us, and my colleagues will either reply live to you or will get back to you after the webinar. With this said, we would like to dive into the first session and hand over to Log CEO Shaul Bassi for his greeting words. Thank you.
Dear guests, Shalom. I want to begin by thanking you on behalf of Log Pharma Primary Packaging for taking the time to attend the webinar on the science of barrier packaging. Sounds interesting? Stay tuned for more. Before we hear from our leading expert, I would like to briefly share with you our history, mission, and vision. Established in 1971, Log became a pioneer in unique packaging solutions, producing a variety of plastic packaging based on our customers' demand. During the years, Log has achieved new capabilities and shifted its focus toward the rapidly growing pharmaceutical market, while dedicating resources and funds to enable these changes. In the last 30 years, Log has become trusted partner of the leading global pharma companies, providing innovative packaging and innovative barrier solutions to support pharma product stability. If history has taught us anything, it is that change is the only constant. The pharmaceutical market is constantly evolving at a rapid pace. These changes enhance our global growth as the technology landscape is a cornerstone of our work. Log's vision and main focus is to support the global health ecosystem by enabling innovative, safe, and protective pharma packaging. Based on this vision, we hope to shape the face of the pharma primary packaging industry. As a manufacturer of primary packaging, our mission is to provide our partners with the absolute and most advanced packaging solution for the novel drugs and formulations. In order to achieve this, Log's strategy and core values are based on 3 pillars. Prior to all our customers' needs. By maintaining an innovative spirit and investing in R&D, we stay at the cutting edge of technology and our high-quality products and excellent services. All 3 pillars are essential, each independently as an integrated strategy to the continuous development of our solutions. Log opts for stability, long-term partnership, and international collaboration as we continue to deliver innovative, highly engineered pharma packaging solutions. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar. May you gain great knowledge and take important insight from our leading expert in barrier and active packaging. Thank you and enjoy. Toda Rabba.
Thank you, Shaul, for those opening words. As the next topic now, we would like to speak about the market trends and hear from a very special guest about the market trends of barrier and active packaging. I am very honored to have Peter Schmitt, the co-founder of Montesino, together with us here today. Peter is observing and also working within the pharma packaging market for more than 30 years, bringing with him a very big and vast experience in the blister as well as bottle and container packaging market. He and his team from Montesino are real experts in the pharmaceutical packaging and polymers business, and I'm looking forward to him sharing with us his insights on the latest market trends in the barrier and active packaging segment. Thank you, Peter, for being with us.
Thank you, Toby, for that introduction. It's a pleasure to speak today to Log and to the many people here about barrier and active packaging for pharmaceuticals. To understand active packaging for pharmaceuticals, let's start with a little introduction as to what packaging has to do. In pharmaceuticals, packaging has 4 responsibilities. It has to protect the safety, efficacy, purity, and compliance of the product. In order to do that, it has to provide barrier. And basically, there are 4 types of barrier. Barrier against moisture, against gas, against light or UV, and against dust. So those barriers can either be passive or active. By passive barrier, we're talking about the barrier provided by the packaging material itself. It's passive, it's just there, it doesn't do anything. The packaging film property is what gives it the barrier against moisture and against oxygen. And in polymers or polymer containers, gauge is critical. The thicker the package, the more barrier. However, there's a second type of barrier called active. And this is an active barrier in the sense that there's an ingredient somewhere in the package that absorbs gas or moisture and functions in the package itself. So it's active package. It's not a passive thing. It actively can pick up additional barrier and is therefore oftentimes very attractive. Well, let's begin understanding that passive barrier a little bit. And in order to do that, we need to talk about permeability and dissolution. So when we're talking about the container itself, we're talking about moisture and oxygen outside the package and moisture and oxygen inside the package. When the product is initially packaged, that's a fixed rate. There is moisture and oxygen outside, and there is moisture and oxygen inside. The way there's transition from outside to inside is through permeability. Literally, the water vapor or the oxygen dissolves in the polymer and then evaporates on the inside. Now, we're assuming that there's more moisture vapor or oxygen on the outside of the package than there is on the inside, which in almost all the circumstances I can think of is true. Now, my son always says that I talk too much. I know everybody here listening, none of you have children that say their parents talk too much, and he always encourages me to use videos or pictures. So if you look at this video or picture right now, you will see how the molecules go in both ways. Actually, we're going to look to establish an equilibrium. Over time, and it's a question of how much time, the water vapor and the oxygen will look to, through the driving forces, arrive at equilibrium. So there's the same amount of moisture inside the package as there is outside the package. Our job in pharmaceutical packaging is to slow down that process as much as possible. The more moisture sensitive our product is, the more important oxygen or gas is to our product, the more important that barrier is. So let's go in a little deeper details on what passive barrier is in specific materials. Fundamentally, we look at 2 kinds of containers in pharmaceutical packaging. We look at bottles and we look at blisters. On bottles, there are 3 types of materials that are normally used: high-density polyethylene, PET, and polypropylene. And I've shown you here on the graph the moisture and the oxygen transmission rates, and you can compare them very easily. For example, in moisture, you will see that the clear advantage goes to polypropylene, a close second place to high density, and PET's moisture vapor is not that great. However, in oxygen, it's a different story. PET has the better oxygen barrier, with high density polyethylene and polypropylene coming in very similar barriers for oxygen. If we now switch to blisters, it's a different story. Here, the 3 fundamental materials are PVC, PVDC, and PCTFE, polychloral trifluoroethylene, better known as ActiveGuard. And a different story. Here, PVC has very poor oxygen and moisture barrier, okay? PVDC has very good oxygen and moisture barrier. And just to make reference of it, there is a new PVDC called Super PVDC, which has even better oxygen barrier. And PCTFE or Aclar has excellent, the best polymer moisture barrier. Its oxygen barrier, however, is very similar to that of PVC. So now let's try and move from passive barrier to active barrier. And let's first of all talk about how a container gets active barrier, because we know how a container gets its passive barrier. It's the material that the container is made out of. Active barrier is introduced into a package today in four main ways: through a packet, which can be dropped in, through a canister, which can be part of the container, through a sachet, or the active barrier can actually be integrated into the container. And throughout today's talk, you're going to hear much more of that from my colleagues at Log. There are a couple of trends that you should also be very aware of today in active packaging. Those trends, first of all, are that today's formulations are much more complex. That usually means much more moisture and oxygen sensitive. A simple example, quick dissolve. I'm going to tease a little bit about millennials. People my age were more patient. If it took 4 or 5 hours for a medicine to begin to have an effect, we were willing to wait. But today, especially millennials, like that medicine to start very quickly, which means the dissolution rate has to be very high, which means that you need a high barrier against moisture. If the moisture comes in, you're going to lose the value of the medicine. Your assay value is going to go down. This has led to an independent understanding of moisture and oxygen, and it's also leading to integrated solutions rather than separate components. So it's going to be interesting later to hear more about the active barrier built into the container. And finally, Mini Nair will speak in depth about oxygen ingress and scavengers a little later in the presentations today. Now, where can moisture or oxygen get into our containers? Well, there's 4 areas. It can ingress through seal flaws. So the sealing area is always an area of concern. It can be transmitted through the container. So the moisture or oxygen on the outside can dissolve through the container and get to the inside. It can be in the headspace when the product was packaged. So there's some headspace and there will be some moisture vapor and oxygen in that headspace. And finally, it can be the relationship or the water activity in the product. There is water in the product when it's packaged, and that water will react with the headspace, and that's the 4th area of concern, and it's an area where active barrier offers real advantages. So let's talk a little more in depth about active barrier, and let's begin to understand the difference between water content, which is what normally we refer to when we're talking about the transmission of moisture and oxygen outside the package to the inside of the package, and water activity. Water activity handles the limitations of water content because it deals with the water that is bound to the product itself. So let's start with a definition of what water activity is. It's the ratio of the vapor pressure of water in a material to the vapor pressure of pure water at the same temperature. Differences in water activity levels between components or a component and environmental humidity are a driving force for moisture migration. Now let's unpack that driving force for a minute. Driving force is the difference in pressure. If you have more pressure in the product and less pressure in the headspace, the free water in the product is going to look to migrate out and join the moisture in the headspace, and that could cause problems. Let's dig a little deeper and compare water content and water activity. Water content or water moisture content is not the same as water activity. Water content is the total amount of water present in a product. Water activity is the water available for reactions in a product. So they really are 2 distinct measurements. The water content is measured by the initial weight of a sample. whereas water activity is independent of the initial weight of the sample. It really takes a look at what happens over the entire life period of the product. And as you can see on a stability diagram here on the right, that's an important way to look at the moisture sorption isotherm and understand what's happening inside the package. Sometimes it's best to look at some very specific examples. So let's take a look at a specific example. You can read at the top of this diagram the actual formulation that we're taking a look at. It's a simple formulation for vitamin B1, but we're looking at three distinct packages here. We're looking at a blister, either cold form foil or alu-alu. We're looking at a bottle, and we're looking at a bottle with 2 grams of desiccant. And I want you to look for a minute at the dotted lines versus the solid lines. The dotted lines, it's the left axis, it's the amount of the percentage of potency, or it's the amount of assay. And the requirement is that it does not go lower than 90%. And you will see rather quickly, the only dotted line that stays above that 90% is the bottle with the 2 gram desiccant. You will note that the assay available from the alu-alu actually falls beneath 90, and the bottle without desiccant is significantly beneath 90. Now, if you look at the solid lines, again, they're very telling. If you look at the green, you will see on the left side the active absorption of moisture, because literally it is absorbing, it's almost drying, if you will, the package, and that's what gives it the time in years, up to 2.5 years, for it to successfully pass the stability test. So let's sum up the importance here of active packaging. Active barrier does something that passive barrier can't. It can manage the relationship between the product and the moisture that's contained within the product and the headspace. And the result is that you can fine-tune the barrier to meet the needs of your product. Hopefully, this is a good introduction to active versus passive barrier. I want to thank Log for the opportunity to speak to you today, and I look forward to hearing any questions in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter, for this presentation. We will now go to the next step and ask you that you are in the pharma packaging area and using our packaging, and we would like to get your insight about how you use barrier and active packaging today. For this, we have prepared a poll with a few questions, which will now pop up on your screen, and we would appreciate if you can share your insights with us. For this, we will take a few moments and then come back to the webinar. Thank you. Thank you for answering this poll. As the next session, we are excited to share with you the story of Pharma2B, how they have succeeded to stabilize their combination drug in Log's barrier bottle. I'm here at Pharma2B together with Sarit and Itzik. Thank you very much for having us here, and I'm looking forward to speak with you about Log's packaging solutions and how Pharma2B has used it. Sarit, can you tell us a bit more about Pharma2B?
Yes, so Pharma2B is a clinical stage pharmaceutical development company, which is developing innovative products based on previously approved products. And the goal is to increase the clinical benefits and decrease the timeline to regulatory approval by using the 505(b)(2) pathway.
So how did you hear about Log, Itzik?
So first of all, Log is a well-known and established company. We had a great experience based on our previous products, and based on the services that Log provide us. And since we had the sensitive formulation, we were looking for barrier bottles in order to stabilize our product.
So did you had a specific project which you worked on when you used were looking for barrier bottles?
Yes, so our lead product, P2B001, is a combination of previously approved APIs for the early treatment of Parkinson's disease. And the project is a low dose combination capsule.
Capsule. This means, what I understand, stabilizing a capsule can be very difficult. Did you face any challenges here to stabilize the drug?
Yes, we did face some challenges from what I can tell you in general, that we had main challenges by preventing the penetration of moisture to come inside the bottles. And we're also using a combination desiccants in order to stabilize our product.
Mm-hmm. So in the end, you used a combination of passive barrier with Log's barrier solution and an active solution inside?
Yes, both active and passive solution. Log provide us a good solution. So at the end, we were able to stabilize our product using active and passive packaging solution.
What specific effect did the bottle bring or benefit bring to Pharma2B?
The benefit that Log's bottle provide us is the low WVTR barrier bottle.
So where's today this product standing here, which we have here in our hand? Nice packaging. So Sarit, where is it standing today?
So P2B001 has finalized the phase 2 clinical trial with remarkable results and was registered in the FDA with Log support, with all the regulatory documents that were needed. And now we are in the middle of a phase 3 clinical trial, and we're hoping for the best.
So first of all, I wish you a lot of success in this phase, and we're looking forward to support you in whatever you need. Looking into the future, what else do you think Log can provide and support Pharma2B?
So in the future, we will use Log's smaller bottles, and we just heard about a new product. For us, it's new. Log's ActiveGuard solution that they insert the desiccants into the bottleneck, and we envision using this for the future.
Oh, that would be great. We look forward to work together with you on this, and I would like to thank you for having us here. Wish you a lot of success and all the best to Pharma2B. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What a success story of Log's barrier bottle. I'm so happy that we could share this together with you, and now we want to go in the next session and understand more about MonoBlock and also multi and OxyBlock, all of those three being a part of Log's offering for barrier packaging.
Hi everyone, my name is Lilach and I'm a project manager at Log. In this session, I will introduce Log's barrier packaging series. The barrier families were developed by Log's R&D 10 years ago out of a real market needs to tackle the challenges posed by sensitive formulation to oxygen and moisture permeation. Log specialized in pharma primary packaging and is most notably known for the series of world-leading barrier packaging solutions which are already endorsed by global pharmaceutical companies and being commercially used in a worldwide spread. Some formulation you probably know, for example, atorvastatin, paliperidone, tenofovir, aspirin, diamol, etc. And there are more drugs which are currently under FDA submission stage and should be launched this year. So let me tell you in a brief about each family and its advantages. MonoBlock, our series for moisture-sensitive formulations. OxyBlock, our series for oxygen-sensitive formulations. And lastly, MultiBlock, our series for very sensitive moisture and oxygen formulations. It is known in the pharmaceutical market that up to 90% of all APIs are sensitive to either moisture or oxygen or both. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with this serious challenge. The MonoBlock is a single layer bottle with a high moisture characteristic. There are other common words used for these bottles in this industry, such as heavy wall, heavy weight, or moisture barrier. LOG's MonoBlock bottles are suitable for both solid and liquid formulations, which are sensitive to moisture and require low moisture permeation. This family line can be manufactured with EBM, extrusion blow molding, or IBM, injection blow molding. Each technology has its own advantages. The MonoBlock can be produced with various wall thicknesses. So why choose MonoBlock? Tests have shown that the WVTR, water vapor transmission rate, of LOG's MonoBlock bottle is up to 4 times lower compared to the industry standard bottles. The real advantage is the possibility to reduce the amount of desiccants used within the bottle. Fill the space with more capsules and have the confidence to pass stability at the first round. Moving on to the next families, our multi-layer product lines, the OxyBlock and MultiBlock. OxyBlock and MultiBlock are made up to 6 layers. Both products produce in a multi-layer technology and include an EVOH layer as an oxygen barrier. The OxyBlock was specially designed to inhibit oxygen permeation. The MultiBlock was specially designed to inhibit both oxygen and moisture permeation. This state-of-the-art packaging have proven their permeation performance with tests conducted using 60 ml bottles revealed 100 times greater oxygen and up to 12 times better moisture barrier performance when compared to standard HDPE bottles. Global pharmaceutical companies are using and endorsing LOG OxyBlock and MultiBlock bottles, as these bottles have successfully passed stability testing with oxygen and moisture sensitive formulations. Formulations such as nicotine polacrylex, atorvastatin, prasugrel, paliperidone, levothyroxine, etc. By using MultiBlock and OxyBlock barrier packaging, you can tackle serious challenges, which you will hear about it in our next session, showcasing a real-world case study. So let's summarize. Our barrier products are used and endorsed already for several years by well-known global pharmaceutical companies. Our barrier solution can reduce the amount of desiccants or oxygen scavengers. It provides confidence to pass drug stability tests, shortens drug formulation development time, and dramatically extend your product's shelf life. Our off-the-shelf barrier bottles come in size range between 12 to 1500 milliliters. All these barrier products are listed in LOG's US DMF and meets the required EU and US pharmaceutical requirements. I would like to invite you to contact us with any information you required and to challenge us with the real-world cases. We will be sending you now a link in the chat window, which you can use to get in touch with us or to order samples. Let's see now how these benefits and advantages of the OxyBlock bottle play out in a real-world case study. This will be presented by our head of India, Ms. Mini Nair.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mini Nair. I'm from LOG. And today we are going to discuss about the challenges posed by oxygen scavengers. And most importantly, the challenges faced by us in the formulation and R&D to present a product that has integrity and stability despite using these oxygen scavengers that have so many problems. So we are going to understand the problems of the oxygen scavengers, and of course, I'm going to present the solution to it. The easiest way to explain a problem is through a case study. So let me take you through a case study that I faced somewhere in the end of last year, that is 2020. So there was this large generic company, and they came to me one day and they said that they have 3 problems. And they were using an oxygen scavenger in a standard HDP bottle, and the formulation was in hard gelatin capsules. So the packaging is like this. There's an oxygen scavenger. The oxygen scavenger is polymer based. It is there in a standard HTP container, and the formulation is in hard gelatin capsules. The challenges posed by this company and what they very eloquently put forward to me was, when they did the purity profile of the drug, they found certain peaks that were unknown and presenting as impurity profiles in the purity profile of the drug. And they just couldn't understand where did these peaks come from. The second was odor. There was a very distinct fishy kind of smell, like an aldehyde-ish kind of smell. And the third was, when the capsule was taken and it was put in the dissolution chamber, the capsule was not dissolved. Now these guys were flummoxed. They didn't know what was happening. And they were just wondering what could have gone wrong. And this is the problem that they came to us. Now, as you know, what is a source of oxygen? Oxygen is ambient, and ambient oxygen is close to 20-21% in our atmosphere. What are the sources of entry of oxygen into the container? So you have the ingress, and that is the only source of oxygen that gets into the container. It gets in during the stability of the formulation. 21%, which is an ambient, gets in through, and this is what is detrimental to our formulation. Now, what are the causes? What can oxygen in a container do to our formulation? Why are we so upset and so touchy with oxygen? So the potential changes are, it can cause a change in color, it can produce a odor, and it can create byproducts. And in the worst case, there could be a oxidation reaction happening. And this oxidation reaction could cause problems in the efficacy of the formulation. So these are the potential products. And now we know that we are working with more products that are sensitive to oxygen. And oxygen is not like moisture. We cannot wish it away. It's there in the atmosphere. It's necessary for us, but it's not good for the formulation. Now, what are the options we have to minimize or remove the oxygen in the container? We can nitrogen flush it. Difficult, because we need to we need to have a standard operating procedure on how much of nitrogen should go into the container. Again, there is a question of, is nitrogen itself okay for the drug? Is nitrogen itself going to be in a conducive arrangement with the drug in our container? We don't know. Or we have to use multi-layer packaging, which will again, reduce the OTR drastically. And today we are going to talk about the multi-layer packaging, which is the easiest option compared to using oxygen scavengers, compared to nitrogen flushing it, or trying to add an excipient into the formulation, an excipient that is oxygen, that protects the drug from oxygen degradation. So these are the three cumbersome changes, and the solution we are going to provide is quite simple. Now, what are the oxygen scavengers available in the market? Now, when we are formulating a drug, what are the choices we have? So there are two choices. One is a polymer-based scavenger, and one is an ion-based scavenger. By scavenger, what do you mean by scavenger? Scavenger is meaning to scavenge, to remove. That is the meaning of a scavenger. This customer, in our case, was using an oxygen absorber, which was polymer-based. Now let's understand, how do polymer-based oxygen scavengers work? The formula is RCH, double bond CH2. It's an alkene. It's a very labile polymer. Now we all know what lability is. Lability is that there is a double bond that's very, very unsaturated. It's unstable. Therefore, the compound wants to stable itself. And because it wants to stable itself, it absorbs the oxygen from the atmosphere, and then it tries to stabilize it. Now, this absorption of oxygen from the atmosphere is scavenging, right? But there is a major issue. In this whole process, it also generates bi-gases. And these bi-gases are aldehydes and ketones. And our customer, who was working on this molecule with an oxygen scavenger, was seeing this aldehyde peak in his profile. If you remember, that's how we started this case study. Now, the advantage of this polymer is, and which is what all of us like, is it can operate in zero humidity, which means we can use as many desiccants we want with this, and it is quick in action. In the sense, in 3 days, the entire oxygen is depleted from our container. But after 6 months, or maybe even after the course of the stability, or when the drug is in the pharmacy at our end customer's place, what do we see? We see that this aldehyde, which is released, has really caused a great harm. The first, like I told, it's an impurity profile. Second is, aldehydes are also detrimental in the dissolution of hard gelatin capsules, and therefore in the disintegration. So what happens when the capsule enters your gut? It dissolves and then it disintegrates. And if you remember, when we want to enteric coat our capsules, we use aldehydes, which means we don't want the capsules to dissolve very fast. So this is a phenomenon that is happening here. So if you want your patient to get an efficacy, let's say quickly, it won't happen because your capsule is not dissolved. Therefore, this is an idea that has to be thought again. Is this the scavenger for us? Also, aldehyde creates a very peculiar odor. I mean, we all remember formaldehyde from our lab days, So the smell is very strong in our memories. And we will realize that it has a strong odor and customer compliance. So when a customer opens the container, the least we can do is give an odor free, but then there is a very strong fishy odor. That's like kind of a put on. The third thing is, over the shelf life at the pharmacy of our customer, the bottles also bulge. The bottles bulge because while oxygen is scavenged, you're having new gases created. So these are the 3 cons of a polymer-based scavenger. Then our other option is the ion-based oxygen scavenger, which is very common. It's iron, and everyone knows that iron absorbs oxygen in the presence of moisture and goes to its higher valence state. And what we experience, we call it rusting. Now, how are these scavengers different to the oxygen? Is in this case, they need humidity. You need moisture. So generally, most of the ion-based scavengers have a humectant present in it that releases moisture at controlled levels to make this whole thing act. The reaction is much quicker than polymer-based scavengers. If polymer scavengers take 3 days to absorb 21% of oxygen in the container, this would take even less than a day. Now, what are the problems with iron-based oxygen scavengers? Because it is rusting, all iron oxides have a light yellow to orangish color. White tablets sometimes show a slight yellowish hue, which is a defect in the final quality control. Metal detectors. Now, most of our final lines of filling have metal detectors because all of us wear wedding rings, we wear earrings, and there's always a risk that something could have slipped off, and the pharma industry cannot work on risks. So as a good operating procedures, we have metal detectors. Now, iron is a metal, and the metal detector will go pling, 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 pling. So you have to stop your line. And then also the other thing is, when you're using a desiccant, you have to think very carefully because the desiccant is going to take away the moisture. And if you have a very dry situation in your container, the iron scavenger won't be able to work. And also, how can we exclude the other heavy elements that goes along with iron? So the insistence of the USP 670 becomes very critical because you want to then get rid of the heavy elements like cobalt, chromium, whatever comes with that. Now, these were the challenges that were posed to us. And what did we do? So for us, the most logical choice was the OxyBlock bottle. The OxyBlock bottle, to deconstruct it or to demystify it, it's a multi-layer bottle. The scope of function of this bottle is involving a layer in the bottle that helps prevent it's like a barrier protection. And along with the OxyBlock, if we use a little, maybe not as much as an oxygen scavenger, but maybe 10 cc of iron-based scavenger, the packaging becomes complete. Now, why do we need a scavenger? Is because we are filling it at ambient. When we are filling it at ambient, there would be 21% oxygen. You can't wish oxygen in. Oxygen would be in the container. OxyBlock is a barrier bottle. So once the oxygen is evicted out from the bottle, then the OxyBlock prevents the entry of oxygen. Its OTR is minimum. Therefore, we need to use a little bit of a scavenger, which is typically an iron-based scavenger that takes away the ambient. So this solution, the customer tried the solution for some 7 or 8 products. The solution worked well in many aspects. The first aspect was the operational ease of operating. It became an easy line. You didn't have to face those problems. Everything was okay. The second was there were firm OTR results by us for the bottle. And with these firm OTR results, it became very easy to calculate a tangible quantity of oxygen to be absorbed and the amount of scavenger to be put. So before we conclude, this was a case that was extremely successful. The customer was very happy and is trying the product for 7 or 8 molecules. And how do we conclude? What are the positive conclusions that we make of this is oxygen scavengers have a lot of pros and cons. The major con, which I didn't cover in this thing, is the patient compliance too. Because oxygen scavenger cannot be afforded to be thrown away by the patient. You know, patients have a habit when they open it and they say, hey, what's this? Let me throw this out. That can't be done with an oxygen scavenger. It is also a recommendation that the amount of oxygen scavengers that sometimes we tend to overwhelm the pack with oxygen scavengers. And that is the thing that creates the problem. And the perfect solution for that is the OxyBlock bottle. The OxyBlock, the multi-layer container, it reduces the oxygen permeation very close to zero, like I told you earlier, and allows to minimize or even eliminate the use of oxygen scavengers. If we have a provision for nitrogen flushing in the filling line, that's perfect. One can use that. And then the cardinal rule of pharmacy, each formulation is unique. And each formulation scientist is unique. We look at problems differently, and the way of solving the problems are very different. Therefore, some may think, let me use an excipient. Some may think, let me change the excipient. But the easiest way and one of the affordable ways in terms of production costs, in terms of operational costs, in terms of patient compliance, is using the OxyBlock bottle. Thank you.
Thank you, Mini, for this very insightful presentation. Now we want to hear from Efrat about Log's ActiveGuard and learn more about this very new and innovative way on how desiccants and oxygen absorbers can be integrated into packaging.
Welcome to Log ActiveGuard session. I'm Efrat and I will be your host for this session. Thank you so much for being here. This session is for those who are new to Log Active Solutions. By the end of this session, you will learn all about our ActiveGuard benefits for your drug development. During the next 7 minutes, we will cover the current available solution as well as the new Log solution. The issue of barriers to moisture and oxygen is a very popular issue in the pharmaceutical market, and at the same time, very painful and tricky issue to deal with. Pharmaceutical manufacturer faces very sensitive API that jeopardize the visibility of a commercial product if the appropriate packaging is not found. Let's review what has been offered in the market in the past. Absorbent within the container, such as desiccant sachet or canisters, which pose the risk of swallowing by mistake as well as removal by patient after opening the bottle. Then came the integrated desiccant cup, which gave good solution, but slowed down the filling line and does not allow the use of liner. Barrier packaging, such as log barrier containers, MultiBlock, OxyBlock, MonoBlock, will provide a proven solution to sensitive API and reduce the need of desiccants. But when you still need additional protection to your product, and at the same time to avoid the failure mentioned before, we recommend using the ActiveGuard, which will give an answer to this limitation. So what is the ActiveGuard? I believe the following video will give you a good idea.
Today's pharmaceutical market faces a substantial challenge. Up to 90% of APIs used in pharmaceutical formulations are sensitive to moisture and/or oxygen and require passive or active packaging protection. Log has responded to this challenge by introducing ActiveGuard. It's all about the click, the most user-friendly packaging solution for moisture-sensitive formulations. Together with ActiveGuard, Log provides 4 components that make up a complete packaging solution. Log's IBM technology-based MonoBlock bottle offers superior moisture barrier performance. ActiveGuard is pre-filled by Log with moisture desiccants and/or oxygen absorbers as required, and then sealed with a permeable substance. After tablet filling, the ActiveGuard is placed firmly within the neck of the bottle and locked into place. An induction heat seal liner hermetically seals the bottle, providing tamper evidence. Standard or child-resistant closures can be used. ActiveGuard is a patient-centric and user-friendly packaging solution that controls the release of tablets, while eliminating the need for inconvenient desiccant sachets or canisters that can fall out of the packaging, be swallowed accidentally, and need to be returned to the bottle when they fall out. ActiveGuard is positioned in previously unused space in the bottle, maximizing tablet space while reducing head space for a truly optimized packaging solution. Patients benefit from optimal drug potency as desiccants are not in direct contact with the tablets, avoiding any potential damage through dryout. Compared to integrated desiccant closures, packaging with ActiveGuard is hermetically sealed, providing tamper evidence and preventing permeation through the thread of the bottle. ActiveGuard. It's all about the click.
So what have we learned about the ActiveGuard until now? The ActiveGuard is pre-filled with moisture desiccant or oxygen absorbent. It will allow you to get the exact amount of absorbent you need for your product. Desiccant amount can be tailored to the specific needs of your product, up to 2 grams in a 33 millimeter neck finish bottle or up to 4 grams in a 38 millimeter neck finish bottle. It is placed firmly inside the neck of the bottle, cannot fall out of the bottle or swallowed by mistake. It controlled release the tablets, and the best advantage is that it enables you to use an induction heat seal liner to hermetically seal the bottle during the shelf life. And in the same time, the desiccant doesn't come in a direct contact with the tablet, preventing possible damage. It maximizes the tablet space while reducing the head space, eliminating the need of cotton or space filler while still allowing the easy dispensing of the tablet. ActiveGuard is really simple to implement on the filling line. After the tablet filling station, a pick-and-place station needs to be added, which will pick the ActiveGuard and place it into the neck of the bottle. Such closed system using log barrier bottle, ActiveGuard, and a heat seal liner prevent penetration of humidity into the closed system and will extend the shelf life of your product. I hope you are at least as excited as I am from this innovative product, and I invite you to place your sample order by clicking on the link in the checkbox. It was my pleasure to introduce to you our ActiveGuard, and I hope to meet you in person soon.
Thank you, Efrat, for this presentation. Now we want to hear from Ora, from the table of R&D and the Barrier Technology Department, on what she and her team is working on.
Hi everyone, my name is Ora. I'm the VP Barrier Technology and Quality at Log. In this session, I will share with you in brief Log's roadmap towards innovative solutions. Pharmaceutical primary packaging trends supports the mega trends of the pharmaceutical industry. The first trend I would like to address is the oral solid dose still remains a dominant drug delivery category. Log will continue to focus on smart and intelligent modified atmosphere plastic packaging solutions and strives towards holistic, well-integrated solution rather than separate components such as bottle, insert, caps. The second trend is patient centricity approach. Regulatory bodies motivate drug manufacturers to take responsibility and find solutions that will help patients adhere to treatment protocols and reduce in-use related risk. Log is working on solutions for better dosing elements, reducing elements that can fall out of the packaging or swallowed by mistake, senior-friendly packaging with zero compromise on children's safety or drug stability to support better user experience. As more and more formulation requires modified atmosphere packaging, Log is spending a great deal of its development resources into cost-efficient solutions that are also better for the environment. We intend to do it by reducing wall thicknesses, increase scalability, shift toward efficient manufacturing technologies, develop cost-efficient advanced material, and increase recyclability. Thank you for listening. I invite you to contact us and challenge our in-house development team.
Thank you. So dear audience, we have arrived at the last session of this webinar, and we want to now pick some of the questions and come to the Q&A. I have here together with me Lilach and Dora. Thank you for joining. Here's a question: where is Log located?
We have 2 manufacturing locations, one in Israel and one in Hungary, and another sales office in India.
And what regulatory and supportive documents are available for Log's barrier bottles?
So we have a very strong regulatory department. All our raw materials comply with EU and USA regulatory requirement for food contact. They also test and pass USP Chapter 661.1. Our primary packaging are listed in our Type 3 DMF. We can support all of that with statements, and you may contact us and get more information about other products and other documents.
So here's another question: how quickly can we get samples?
So we have samples available in stock, and you can receive it within a few days. We also have a local stock in India, which we can send it right away.
Can you please help us with our stability issues?
Sure. Our barrier focus group will happy to support the customers with any stability issues they may have. So you may contact us and we'll start to work together on that.
Is Log developing customer-specific barrier packaging solutions?
Yes, we do. We develop both standard and customized solutions. When a customer is looking for a customized solution, We will work together with the customer to define the need, and then we will develop the best solution for the need.
So thank you very much, Ora and Lilach, for being here during the Q&A session. And the audience, thank you very much for staying with us till the very end of this webinar. Thank you for your interest, and please feel free to reach out to us with sample requests, with further questions, and we're looking forward to meeting you again at our next webinar. Thank you very much.